Summary of decisions, follows Dante Tae the Don, a rising Bay Area rapper navigating the chaotic intersections of music, hustling, fatherhood, and toxic love. After serving time in prison, Tae returns to a world that never stopped moving. Old ties pull him back, and new temptations push him forward. His life is a carousel of sex, music, betrayal, and loyalty. From the drug-fueled studio nights to high-stakes shootouts and love triangles turned polyamorous chaos, Tae balances his ambitions with real-life consequences, with his son as his anchor and a crew of unpredictable allies, including his hustler cousin Slick, his ex Kelsey, his new fling Selena, and Marissa, and shady managers like Steve. Tae rises through the local music scene, all while trying to stay out of prison and keep his sanity. But even as the money grows and his name buzzes in clubs and radio stations, the streets and his past don't let go easily. Ultimately, Tae must decide what matters more, the lifestyle or the legacy. Title: Decisions by Anthony Harrison. Chapter 1. Oakland sunsets, her and her, club nights, seduction, and the neighbor. They say the sun hit different in Oakland when you're soul heavy. I felt it every day walking from that gas station, counting the register money I skimmed before the night shift ended. I wasn't proud, but it kept diapers on my son and food in the fridge of the studio apartment I shared with roaches and ambition. My name's Dante, 28 years old, East Oakland born and broke. I had bars, though, bars that could make a judge cry or make a stripper come, depends on the beat. But real life don't always wait on talent to bloom. Real life gave me a son and a criminal case in the same week. And that was just the beginning. People say the Bay raises you faster if you pour. I clock out from the station just before midnight, pockets a little heavier from register skims, and walk past corners still active with fiends, hustlers, ghosts. I'd see my reflection in the liquor store window and wonder which one was becoming. Then I'd pull my hoodie tighter, check the street, and keep moving. I had no illusions. I was one mistake from slipping, one heartbeat from being a hashtag. I ain't have a choice but to keep hustling. My son deserved a better future than a jail visit. Even if I couldn't give him that today, I still dreamed about that stage, mic in hand, the crowd chanting my name. Just had to make it long enough to see it. Taisha, my ex, she was the kind of woman who made you write rhymes with her name in them, even when she ain't deserve it. Thick, light skin, green contacts, and a toxic streak wider than MacArthur BLVD. She liked girls now, said men were too unstable. But she always had a soft spot for me. I'd go to her place, high off ecstasy, and end up tangled in sheets with her and her girlfriend. We'd sweat the pain out, wake up with regrets we couldn't name. One night, Taisha kissed me slow while her girl rolled another pill on the dresser. "You still got that look, Dante," she said, "like you about to run from something." She was right. I was. Our threesomes weren't just sex. They were medicine, escape. Me, Taisha, and her girl Nia, twisted in bodies, laughter, and liquor. I'd find myself between them, her nails raking down my back, Nia's breath warm on my neck. For a few hours, nothing existed but heat, motion, and sighs. After, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart thudding, guilt mixing with pleasure, wondering if I was healing or hiding. I met Kendra on a Thursday night in a San Francisco club. My cousin had a bottle, I had a blunt, and she had thighs like God sculpted her out of Southern ambition. "Where you from?" I asked. "Atlanta." "But I'm out here trying to party before I get old and responsible," she said, laughing, braces flashing. She was young, loud, country as hell, and just the distraction I didn't know I needed. We danced, we drank, and 2 nights later we were in my grandma's basement, bodies knotted together, her legs on my shoulders. She called me her California sunshine. I called her trouble I couldn't afford. Kendra was the kind who'd take a selfie while riding you, play trap music during foreplay. She'd leave glitter on your sheets and lipstick on your soul. I was addicted fast. She brought a chaos I mistook for love. You ever think about just running away? She whispered one night, tracing her finger down my chest. Every day, I said. We both smiled, but deep down we knew neither of us had anywhere else to go. Kelsey, white girl, brown hair, from Walnut Creek. She slid into my DMs off a freestyle I posted, said I had pain in my voice, said she liked pain. She pulled up to my job, picked me up in a Lexus, and took me back to her apartment. We popped a few pills, shared a bottle of Hennessy, and fucked like we were trying to forget ourselves. Every night after that, repeat. She bought food, studio time, even fronted me a new pair of kicks, but something in her eyes told me she was looking to lose herself in me, and I was too broken to be a savior. With her, it wasn't just lust. It was desperation masquerading as comfort. We made love slow, tender, like we were trying to erase all the noise outside. She'd ride me with tears in her eyes sometimes, whispering things she'd never admit in daylight. You're not like them, she said one night. I wanted to believe her, but I knew better. It was the neighbor, the tweaker with the fentanyl eyes. Broke into my car one night while I was watching from the window. I didn't think, I just moved. I beat him until my hands ached, cracked his cheekbone, maybe more. He screamed. Neighbors came out, cops were called, and I ran. 10 months on the run, 3 women, 1 warrant, and no real plan. You learn a lot about yourself when your freedom's a question mark. I became a shadow, always looking over my shoulder. Trust got thinner. Friends stopped answering. Only the women remained, each with their own cost. I bounced between couches, cheap motels, and the backseat of my cousin's Impala for almost a month. Every spot had a scent, stale smoke, burnt-top ramen, cheap sex, or piss, but it was still freedom. Taisha let me crash 2 nights. We ended up back in her bed, her girl passed out on the floor. We whispered like kids under a blanket, talking about old times, how different we were, but it was all illusion. You still think you're gonna make it with that music shit? She asked. I know I will. She looked at me like I said I could fly. You better hurry. Before the streets eat your talent, Kendra started pulling up more. Tight jeans, designer slides, cleavage spilling, braces gleaming. She was drama in a crop top. Dante, why you always ducking off like you got enemies? She said one night, laying across the motel bed, 'cause I do. She liked danger. It made her cling harder. Sex with her was wild, loud, messy, full of scratch marks and giggles. She'd ride me like she was trying to break me, then lay on my chest humming future lyrics. But when the money got low and I couldn't match her turn up, she started pulling away. Kelsey was still the safe one, kept me fed, paid a few bills, let me record at her spot. I even wrote a track about her, Suburban Blues. She cried when she heard it. We had sex that felt like drowning, slow, wet, eyes locked, breath synced. Her nails dragged down my back while she whispered about running away with me. I'll go wherever you go, baby. Just say the word. But I didn't say it, 'cause I knew one day soon the cops were coming. And when they did, I'd have to decide which woman, if any, would really ride. Chapters 2, phone calls, warnings, and the fall. It was that kind of night, the air thick with paranoia. I had the window halfway cracked, stale, blunt smoke curling out into the Oakland chill. My phone lit up. Unknown number, but I knew who it was. You good? Kelsey's voice came through low, almost whispering. As good as I can be. She knew the run was getting thin. I was dodging cops, ducking drama, and barely staying 2 steps ahead. I had already picked who to call if it all fell down. And I knew it was coming. That night I was supposed to link with Taisha again. Another ecstasy-fueled escape into her world of blurred lines and soft eyes. But something told me not to go. I went home instead. That decision, simple, random, sealed my fate. At 6:04 a.m., the knock came. Not a knock, really. A bang. 4 cops deep. They breached my cousin's apartment where I was staying on the couch. I had just taken my shoes off. Dante Hill? Hands where we can see him. They cuffed me before I even had time to sit up fully. One officer read the charges. Another searched the room. I kept my mouth shut. Battery, assault, fleeing, violation of probation. My neighbor, fentanyl fiend turned snitch, showed up in court with his jaw wired shut, painkillers in his bloodstream, and a victim statement long enough to get me the max. County jail was hell, cement beds, roaches, cars who looked at you like a number, not a man. I made the call. "You still with me?" I asked. Kelsey didn't hesitate. Of course. I didn't realize how much that meant until I was looking at my reflection in the toilet bowl of a 2-man cell. The county held me for 5 months while I waited on court dates and legal games. I took the deal, 2 years with half. 1 year in and I'd be free. Inside, it wasn't just time, it was survival, the politics, the car assignments, the tension. Commissary became gold. A top ramen and a honey bun could get you stabbed or saved depending on who you handed it to. Kelsey never missed a beat. Letters, photos, commissary every Friday. Her love made me feel like I still had a soul. But there was something else creeping. The homie Bam from Sacramento who I met in transit at Tracy had weed. We smoked every day. Some days I forget I was locked up. Other days, I felt every hour. We made it to Folsom State Prison, level 2 yard. I wasn't there an hour before I was looking for the weed connect. And that's where it all started to shift. Chapter 3. First day, first flame, Folsom Blues. I hit the main line at Folsom State Prison like a ghost with memories. Orange jumpsuit, state blues in my bag, and a mind full of lyrics I hadn't had the time to write down. First thing I asked for? Weed. They called me crazy. But Bam from SAC, he knew. We linked during transit at Tracy and clicked off instinct. He had the juice on the yard and the fire to smoke. First night, he handed me a rolled-up joint and a warning. "Welcome to the zoo, blood," he said, lighting the match. I took a deep pull and looked around. It was hot, concrete hot, like a furnace with no forgiveness. And you could feel the energy, all politics, race, territory, respect. The Mexicans ran their side militant. Blacks stuck with blacks, divided even further by city. Bloods, Crips, Bay, L.A. It was a careful dance. One wrong step, you got stomped out. I found my car quick. DP homies pulled me in. One of them, little man, his uncle I'd seen in the county. We hadn't locked in back then, but on the main line, different code. We stood together, and then came the flex. Package day. My name called. Kelsey had sent the works. Shoes, Adidas shell toes, white fresh V-necks, deodorant, honey buns, chips, top shelf everything. I walked back to the dorm with the box in my arms like I just hit the lotto. "Okay, lil' homie got somebody riding for him," one OG said, eyeing my sneakers. Respect came fast when you had commissary. I passed out soups and smokes, kept my weed tucked tight. That same night, I joined the Bloods for breakfast. Pancakes and politics, laughs over watered-down syrup. But the yard always balances pleasure with pain. It started over a $5 stick. Mexicans sold a blunt of dirt weed to one of our young homies. Overcharged, no respect. He came to me and Knuckles from Compton. "We gonna let 'em play us like that?" he asked. Knuckles looked at me. I nodded. The next day, it jumped. I was on the phone with my mom when I saw it go down. First punch, then a tackle, then chaos. I told her I gotta go, hung up, and slid off into formation. I wasn't front line, but I wasn't backing down. Caught one in the ribs, threw 2 back. Blood in my mouth, boots on concrete, sirens in lockdown, 23-hour days. 1 hour to shower and pace the cage. I laid in my bunk, heart still racing. "I'm built for this," I whispered to myself. But I knew deep down, this wasn't where I belonged. I closed my eyes and pictured a mic, a stage, Kelsey, my son. And I promised myself if I made it out, I'd flip every lyric into gold. But first, I had to survive the fire. Chapter 4, Shock Collars and Consequences. The riot changed everything. I earned more than bruises, I earned eyes, respect, and danger. A few days after the dust settled, I was sitting on my rack rolling tobacco from a state pouch when I heard boots echo off the concrete. Heavy steps, a slow approach. Show Dog, the shock collar of the Bloods, real name probably lost in paperwork, but his presence unmistakable. Thick gold tooth, faded red wristband, and the cold knowing eyes of a man who'd buried both friends and enemies without losing sleep. He was flanked by two goons, both silent, both armed with blades made from toothbrushes and razors. Show Dog nodded at Bam, then stepped to me. "You Tae the Don, right?" "Yeah." I stood up. He stuck his hand out. "I got a newfound respect for you, nigga." We shook. His grip was firm. "I seen you. You ain't hesitate." While them other three Bay Area niggas froze up, you walked right past them and stood with your homie. That means something. Loyalty over geography. He paused, glanced around, and declared loud enough for others to hear. "I'm putting out a prison-wide statement. If any of the Bay niggas get into some funk, Bloods ain't riding." He looked me in the eye. "But Tae the Don gets an exception. You good in any yard where my name echoed." He tapped his chest and walked off. His goons followed. Bam nodded in approval. But that spotlight comes with shadows. Word got back to the Baycar shot caller. Said I was too active, stirring heat. Said I was out here trying to incite riots just to flex. It was bullshit. They were mad 'cause I stood up while they sat down. Couple days later, I caught a Southsider looking at me sideways. So I stepped to him. "You got a problem with me?" He shook his head. But it didn't matter. My own car started whispering like I was reckless. Then came chow time. I wasn't playing politics no more. Instead of waiting in line behind the Northerners, I skipped ahead and stood with my homies. Silence fell. Tension crawled up the walls. That night, Bam walked to my bunk. "OG Northerner wants a fade." I didn't hesitate. I looked across the dorm, saw him standing there. Stocky, eyes hard. I tied up my boots, nodded. We met in the back. He made the mistake of squaring up with his back to the wall. I rushed. 2 jabs to the mouth, elbow to the side. His knees buckled. A big, tall dude from Stockton jumped in and broke it up. I walked back to my rack, silent, calm. Later that night, one of the young homies, Skinny D from East Sac, sat on his bunk staring at the floor. He was getting released the next morning. "You good?" I asked. He didn't look up. "I'm getting out, but this my 4th time. I get out, stay fresh for 2-3 days, and shit get real." I sat with that. I remember my son, my ex, the studio, the money I owed, the parole I was walking into with no plan and 5 felonies on paper. That night, lying in my bunk, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling. What if I end up like Skinny D? What if that riot was the best moment I'd ever have? What if I came home and still had nothing? These were the questions that haunted me long after the lights shut off. Folsom had a way of making time feel like cement. But in my chest, I still had rhythm. I still had verses left. I wasn't done. Chapter 4, Shock Collars and Consequences. The riot changed everything. I earned more than bruises. I earned eyes, respect, and danger. A few days after the dust settled, I was sitting on my rack rolling tobacco from a state pouch when I heard boots echo off the concrete. Heavy steps, a slow approach. Show Dog, the shock collar of the Bloods, real name probably lost in paperwork, but his presence unmistakable. Thick gold tooth, faded red wristband, and the cold knowing eyes of a man who'd buried both friends and enemies without losing sleep. He was flanked by 2 goons, both silent, both armed with blades made from toothbrushes and razors. Show Dog nodded at Bam, then stepped to me. You Tae the Don, right? Yeah. I stood up, he stuck his hand out. I got a newfound respect for you, nigga. We shook. His grip was firm. I seen you. You ain't hesitate. While them other 3 Bay Area niggas froze up, you walked right past them and stood with your homie. That means something. Loyalty over geography. He paused, glanced around, and declared loud enough for others to hear. I'm putting out a prison-wide statement. If any of the Bay niggas get into some funk, Bloods ain't riding. He looked me in the eye. But Tae the Don gets an exception. You good in any yard where my name echoed. He tapped his chest and walked off. His goons followed. Bam nodded in approval. But that spotlight comes with shadows. Word got back to the Bay Car shot caller. Said I was too active, stirring heat. Said I was out here trying to incite riots just to flex. It was bullshit. They were mad because I stood up while they sat down. Couple days later, I caught a Southsider looking at me sideways. So I stepped to him. You got a problem with me? He shook his head. But it didn't matter. My own car started whispering like I was reckless. Then came chow time. I wasn't playing politics no more. Instead of waiting in line behind the Northerners, I skipped ahead and stood with my homies. Silence fell. Tension crawled up the walls. That night, Bam walked to my bunk. OG Northerner wants a fade. I didn't hesitate. I looked across the dorm, saw him standing there. Stocky, eyes hard. I tied up my boots, nodded. We met in the back. He made the mistake of squaring up with his back to the wall. I rushed. 2 jabs to the mouth, elbow to the side. His knees buckled. A big, tall dude from Stockton jumped in and broke it up. I walked back to my rack, silent, calm. Later that night, one of the young homies, Skinny D from East Sac, sat on his bunk staring at the floor. He was getting released the next morning. You good? I asked. He didn't look up. I'm getting out, but this my 4th time. I get out, stay fresh for 2-3 days, and shit get real. I sat with that. I remember my son, my ex, the studio, the money I owed, the parole I was walking into with no plan and 5 felonies on paper. That night, lying in my bunk, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling. What if I end up like Skinny D? What if that riot was the best moment I'd ever have? What if I came home and still had nothing? Then I reached into my envelope stash and pulled out the picture. Kelsey. Bent over the edge of her bed, thong pulled to the side, the ink fresh on her ass cheek, Tae the Don scrawled in cursive across the meat of it. Her eyes sparkled. Her smile said, "You still mine." And that wasn't all. I had her name tatted on me too, right over my ribs. Did it in the dark one night with a rig Zoe put together. I didn't even flinch. That was pain I welcomed. The memory of her, the ink, the connection, it yanked me out of the pit. I had been on the verge of losing it. 23-hour lockdown does things to the mind, but that photo made me feel alive. I laid back, clutched my chest over the ink and whispered, "I'm coming home soon, girl. And when I do, everything's going to be different." Chapter 5. Lockdown Thoughts and Crystal Dreams. I cried that day. My son turned 5. I didn't even get a chance to hear his voice. No call, no picture, just a memory. Blurry around the edges of his little fingers wrapped around mine in the hospital room the day he was born. I sat on the cold steel bunk back against the wall, tears rolling slow and quiet. I wiped them fast before anyone could catch me slipping. We were still on 23-hour lockdown. My cellie was tweaking hard, pacing the top rack barefoot, whispering gibberish and paranoia. Dude was spun out on crystal meth, kept saying the walls were whispering. Sometimes I'd have to snap at him just to bring him back down to earth. I kept my sanity by working out, push-ups, burpees, dips off the edge of the bunk. Every movement was a distraction from the fact that I was caged like an animal. And when I wasn't working out, I daydreamed. Hard. I pictured myself signed to Maybach Music. Me and Ross posted outside a phantom, gold chain swinging, cameras flashing, my voice echoing through the speakers of a private jet. Tae the Don stitched across jackets. Fans screaming in cities I'd never even been to. Then reality snapped me back. Chow time, chow time. The voice of the CEO cut through the air like a blade. Steel bars rattled, keys jingled, footsteps echoed. The other inmates stirred, some talking, some yelling, some dragging their feet across the concrete. It all drove me crazy at first. The sound, the constant noise, the static of restless souls clashing against steel and silence. But I adapted, learned to tune it out. Zone in. I had no choice. One afternoon, this Indian cat stopped by our cell. Quiet dude. He handed my cellie a little twist of weed, nodded once, and disappeared. My cellie grinned and rolled it with a piece of bobble paper. First hit he passed to me, I was juiced. I hadn't tasted real smoke in weeks. Before that, I was snorting codeine pills to sleep. First time I ever snorted anything. But hell, when you got nothing but time, walls, and nightmares, you take what you can get. I remembered my first time locked up in Santa Rita. I was just a pup, scared, still thinking I'd get released in a few days. That's when I saw my Uncle Ivory. He walked by my pod with a grin like he owned the place. He stopped, looked me in the eyes, and said, "It's straight murder, nephew. Fuck all that other shit. You from the Ave. So stand on that." That stuck with me. That's what I stood on. Even now, deep in Folsom, surrounded by lifers and sharks, I stood tall. I wasn't the loudest. I wasn't the biggest. But I had a name. And it meant something. In that dark, with that weed buzzing through my chest and the sound of my cellie mumbling above me, I thought hard about everything. The music. My son. The way my name rang in the county, and how much I had already lost. I wasn't going to be another repeat story. I wasn't going to be like Skinny D getting out just to spin the block and catch another bid. I came out of that lockdown with a plan. I was going to flip this pain into power, even if I had to do it by myself. Chapter 6. Release Day, Jag Key's Loyalty, and West Side Reentry. The gate opened like it was exhaling me. I stepped out wearing state grays and steel-toe boots that had been stepped on one too many times, but my name was still mine, Tae the Don. And there she was, Kelsey, waiting right outside in the black-on-black Jaguar I helped her pick from a jailhouse catalog. Standing there with a smirk, a fitted tank top, and a fresh weave that blew in the wind like a music video dream. "Welcome home, baby." She handed me a small black duffel bag. Inside, army fatigue shorts, Jordan 16 seconds, a crisp red Aku V-neck. She even remembered the chrome wallet chain I liked. My jewelry, gold rope chain, watch, rings, all clean, shining like I never left. She looked like trouble wrapped in satin. Her bestie sat behind the wheel, sunglasses on, chewing gum like she had secrets to keep. I tossed my state ID in the back seat, slid in beside Kelsey, and didn't even make it past the freeway sign. We were all over each other. Clothes pushed aside, moans muffled, her legs over my lap, her body bouncing in rhythm with the turns. That back seat felt like a hotel room on wheels. When we pulled up to the apartment in Fremont, it hit me. The room was full of gifts. Shoes lined the walls, Timbs, Jordans, a F1S. Hats stacked high, drawers full of new fits. She had my favorite cologne on the dresser. Chains, a blunt already rolled, bottles chilled in the mini fridge. I stood in the middle of the room and just stared. She watched me. "You good?" I nodded, but my throat was tight. A tear slipped. She stepped forward, lifted my chin, and kissed me slow. We made love right there, soft and slow, bodies reacquainting like they had time to make up for. This wasn't lust. It was confirmation, a welcome home, a memory I didn't have to repress. After I called my grandma, "Baby, where you at? Take me to West, Kel, 34th and Chestnut." She didn't argue, just smiled. When we pulled up, it felt like a scene out of the past. Hennessy bottles getting passed, backwoods lit, laughter bouncing off parked cars. People I hadn't seen in years were pulling up just to dap me. I felt like royalty. Alicia, my sister, came out from the gate with a man posted next to her. Tall, bald, shades on, red bandana tied loose around his wrist. "This my dude Tone," she said. "Tone, this my brother Tae. We shook up. I clocked his aura. Cool, but flashy, loud with silence. He has something to him I couldn't read yet." Then I heard a familiar voice, my baby mama. She pulled up, holding my son's hand. Little man ran straight to me, jumping into my arms like I never left. Kelsey's smile dropped instantly. Her bestie leaned in and whispered with a smirk, "There goes your cupcake time." Kelsey frowned, deep. Her jaw clenched, and I saw her count to 10 inside. I kissed my son on the forehead and looked up, already knowing things were about to get complicated. Chapter 7, Grandma's Basement, Broken Trust, and Triggered Trell. The honeymoon was short. A week after the welcome home sex, the studio gifts, the love, and already I felt the walls closing in. Kelsey was too intense, too involved. She wanted control, and I was barely reacclimated to freedom. So I did what I always do when I need clarity. I went back to the basement, Grandma's place, where it all started. That same dusty carpet and creaky stairs, the dim light bulb swinging overhead. I walked into the old setup, my studio, covered in boxes, tangled cords, and time. I blew dust off my MIDI keyboard, wiped down the monitors, and powered up the tower. Windows 7 booted slow, real slow, but it came alive. I opened up Pro Tools, loaded one of the beats I made on a jail napkin turned melody, a piano loop over some 808 seconds. I started spitting a verse I wrote during lockdown about survival, betrayal, hope, but it came out stiff, off, dead. I deleted it. I sat there listening to old tracks I did before the case. I didn't like them anymore. They felt immature, outdated, but I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. A few weeks passed. One afternoon while Kelsey showered, I used her laptop to check Facebook. I hadn't logged in since I got locked up. Hundreds of unread messages. I replied to one. Patrice. Short brown-skinned Virgo. We used to mess around before my son was born. She sent me a message saying, "Welcome home." I responded, "Thank you. How you been?" That's it. That's all I said, but I forgot to log out. Later that night, I came home to Kelsey pacing, eyes wild. "You think I'm a fucking joke?" she snapped, shoving the laptop toward me. "Patrice? Really?" I didn't even lie. I just sighed. "You've been waiting to get out so you can talk to other bitches, huh? I should have left you in there." It got loud. Ugly, words that couldn't be unsaid. I grabbed a duffel and bounced. Grandma's basement became home again, back to square one. Couple nights later, I was deep into mixing a track when I heard footsteps. Grandma never came down there, so I looked up. It was Tone, and with him was a tall dude in designer sweats, gold chains, and locks. Trigger Trell, Oakland's own, viral freestyles, They Eat Cypher alum. Dude had a billboard downtown last summer. I'd known of him for years, but we never crossed paths. Tone slapped me up and said, "Tay, I want you to meet somebody. This the future of Oakland. But I think y'all might be the future together." Trell nodded, cool but distant. "What's good, bro? I heard your name buzzing even when you was locked." I dabbed him. We sat, smoked, talked music. I played a track I was working on. He nodded. Then, without asking, Trell jumped in the booth and freestyled over my beat. His delivery was sharp, confident, but something about it rubbed me wrong. He stepped out the booth grinning. "That's how you get down, huh?" he said. I smirked. "Something like that." Tone clapped his hands. Man, y'all gonna kill it together. Mixtape, EP, whatever. We need to get that going. I lit another blunt, eyes narrowing on Trell. Something in me felt it already. This wasn't a friendship. It was a challenge. Chapter 8, LA Stage Lights, Spotlight Conflict. It was our first real show. Not just a club set. A real stage, real audience, real buzz. Downtown Los Angeles. A showcase for independent artists hosted by one of Power 106's side DJs. The kind of event where labels low-key sent interns to take notes. If you had something, someone noticed. If you didn't, you faded back to SoundCloud irrelevance. Me and Trell rode down together. Tone drove. The energy in the car was good, but I could feel something under the surface with Trell. Always could. Backstage, I had my fit laid. All black Puma hoodie, fresh white forces, gold chain glinting just right. Trell had on some designer shit, Balenciaga hoodie, iced out teeth shining when he laughed too loud. I focused, zoned in. This was my night. DJ started spinning. Host introduced me. Crowd roared. I stepped on stage. Lights hit. Beat dropped. My first joint, one I wrote in the cell. That pain hit the walls hard. People were rocking with it. Eyes locked, heads nodding, phones up. I worked the whole stage. Bar for bar, breath control on point, energy electric. Then came the beat. The one I flipped from that infamous LA group. As soon as it dropped, the crowd lost it. Bay flow on a legendary West Coast instrumental. It was magic. Bodies moved. They screamed my hook back at me. I closed my set to a sea of hands and applause. Trell? Trell couldn't take it. Mid-clap, he rushed the DJ booth, whispering no, yelling at the DJ we came with. Put my shit on. Put my shit on. The DJ hesitated. He was feeling my energy too, but Trell kept pushing. So when my last bar faded, the DJ clicked over. Trell's beat dropped. Energy died. He started rapping. Fast, flashy, extra auto-tune. It wasn't hitting. Not after what I just did. By the second song, half the crowd was on their phones. He finished. Silence. Then the host came back up. Make some noise for Tae the Don, though. Whoa. What's your name again, fam? I stepped back on stage, grinning. Tae the Don, Oakland, California. Someone in the back screamed, run that West Coast joint again. Trell, stone face, jaw tight. On the ride back, silent, no aux cord, no recap talk, just headlights and hidden tension. And I knew then this wasn't a partnership. This was a war waiting to happen. Chapter 9, Solo Moves, Shifting Ties, and DC Paranoia. After LA, everything shifted. The next morning, Trell reposted the show flyer but didn't tag me. He dropped his performance clips but left mine out. I called Tone. Man, you peeped that? Tone sounded annoyed. Trell feel like you stole his light. That crowd loved you. I told him y'all should eat together, but you know how egos go. I made a decision right there. I was going solo. Trell was talented, no doubt, but his pride wouldn't let us shine side by side, and I couldn't shrink for anybody. So I hit the studio harder, wrote deeper, dropped a freestyle that went viral on TikTok. Meanwhile, Kelsey had flown out to D.C., said she had work lined up, still sending money, still calling every night. But something felt off. She started asking too many questions. Why didn't you answer at 11:15? You still got Patrice on your Facebook? I heard your freestyle. Who's that about? The paranoia was rising. One night she called crying. I seen this car outside the hotel. I swear someone's watching me. I feel like they know I'm doing something. You good? I asked. You high right now? No, she snapped. I'm working. I'm making sure we don't starve. You in the studio every night, but where the money at, Tae? I didn't respond. I just stared at the cracked ceiling in my grandma's basement. Things were unraveling, and I was too focused to slow it down. Chapter 10, Club 1017 and the Ghosts of Indulgence. A week before the show, Taisha pulled up to my grandma's spot with her girl and a new friend named Micah, all curves and lips and liquor. "Celebration, Tae," Taisha said, already half drunk. "Your freestyle's going crazy, everybody talking about you." We came to toast to it. One shot turned to two. Then came the pills, music, laughter. Then came the chaos. Clothes came off, sweat slicked skin. I had Tisha riding my face while her girl sat on my chest, licking Micah's thighs. The mattress bounced with movement and gasps. I lost myself in it. For hours we existed in rhythm and bodies. Knock at the door. "My baby mama. Open up, Tae." I tossed on basketball shorts, slid to the door. "Yo, why you here?" "I got little Tae." "You said to drop him for the weekend?" I cracked the door. She glanced past me, saw bras on the couch. I panicked. "It's a photo shoot. Models. Just getting started." She handed over the baby bag, side-eyed me, then left. I handed her $40 and mumbled something about sneakers. Her closed the door and slid right back into madness. A week later, I was standing inside Club 1017. Loud music, Henny everywhere. Steve, my old barber turned sometime manager, had returned. Soon as he saw my buzz, he popped back up with promises and energy. "I got the locks coming. It's your shot, Tae. You got the slot. Prime time." He was talking money, placement, labels, all that. I didn't trust him fully, but I wasn't saying no. Night of the show, I hit the floor hard. Red polo tee, baggy blue jeans, cut-off jean jacket, Cincinnati Reds fitted, Ray-Bans gleaming, grill glittering. Crowd went stupid. I gave them pain, rhythm, movement. By the second verse, phones were out. By the third, the whole floor vibrated under the bass. The Locks dapped me up backstage like I was one of them, but Kelsey wasn't there. "Sick," she said earlier that day. No text since. I got back home floating. Checked my phone. She sent a pic, champagne, candles, a hotel bed. Alone, maybe, I couldn't be sure. I laid back on the bed and remembered Taisha's tongue. The way her girl screamed when I pulled her hair. The moan from Micah but none of it filled the void. I'd had everything, but I felt hollow. Somewhere between the success and the lust, I'd lost something. And Kelsey's silence was just the beginning. Chapter 11, Blocked Signals and Blurred Lines. Back in the studio, I was focused, beat looping, pen moving, and I was in that zone. I booked a 6-hour session at the spot in East Oakland, one of the only real booths still left with that grime and soul in the walls. Trell pulled up an hour late, smelling like syrup and smoke. He brought a whole entourage, talking over the music, laughing too loud. My engineer gave me the side eye. But I played it cool. "Play that last track again, Tae," Trell said, mouthful of backwood smoke. "That's the one." I nodded, played it back, and midway through, dude starts freestyling over my verse. Right on top of it. I paused the track. Trell grinned. "My bad. You know I get excited." I didn't say nothing, just hit play again. But the respect? That line had already been crossed. A few days later, I was grabbing food on MacArthur when my sister's homegirl Kima flagged me down outside the nail shop. "You still fucking with Steve?" she asked, half whispering. "What you mean?" She leaned in. "Somebody said he used to mess with that boy Andre that ran that shop in Eastmont. Girl was in there yesterday talking about it. Said she saw Steve and Dre back in the day on some real intimate shit." I didn't flinch, just nodded and walked off. But the whole ride home, my thoughts spun. I never cared how a man lived his life, but I started thinking about all them late-night meetings, the way Steve slid back in when things were hot, the way he moved when I got shine. That same night, Kelsey pulled up unannounced. She was thinner, eyes red, hoodie baggy on her frame. She looked tired, lost. "I missed you," she said. Her voice was brittle. "I just needed to see you, Tae." She handed me a duffel. Inside, cash, 2 chains I forgot she even had, a new pair of shoes, and a sealed bottle of Hennessy. We made love, slow, awkward. She cried after. I didn't ask why. Later, she fell asleep. I sat there in the dark, looking at the ceiling, feeling like I was holding on to the ghost of who she used to be. Next morning, I opened my phone and everything hit me at once. Steve had blocked me. Instagram, gone. Number, straight to voicemail. Even his assistant's line didn't ring. Then word got back from a mutual contact. He felt played after that caption you posted. Said you acting like he ain't even help. It didn't make sense. But in the music game, perception was everything. And now the producers Steve used to connect me with, the DJs, the showcase organizers, all ghosted. Doors were closing, and I was standing in the hallway, alone. Chapter 12. The lick on the horizon, temptation, loyalty, and Tone's pitch. It was a Saturday in West Oakland, the kind of day where the smoke from grilled ribs danced in the sun and old heads argued about Raiders stats like it was gospel. The family was out deep. Grandma's backyard was bumping with laughter, kids running wild, folding chairs scattered across the patchy grass. Somebody had a Bluetooth speaker in a cooler, blasting old Drew down. Tone pulled me aside near the garage while I was cracking open a beer. "You looking hungry, Tae," he said, grinning, pulling out a fat stack of blues and peeling off a 20 like it was a gum wrapper. "You recording fire, but you broke. Tell me I'm lying." I didn't flinch. "You ain't lying, but you talk too much." He laughed and slapped my shoulder. "That's why I fuck with you. Real shit. I got something for you. It's soft, light pressure. These white boys got packs but no backbone. Hillside types. Easy grab." I looked at him. "You talking a lick?" "Nah, I'm talking an opportunity," he said, grinning like a shark. "They think it's just a delivery. You and me flip the script. Quick in, quick out." I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, but I listened. A few days later, I was back in Grandma's basement. Studio still had that dusty smell of ambition and half-burnt blunts. I was trying to mix down a track, but my plugins weren't working. My engineer ghosted me last minute. Frustration simmered. I dropped the verse anyway. Bars were vicious. Hunger in every line. But there was no budget left. No promo, no help. I stared at my cracked phone screen. My son's picture looked back at me. He was smiling in his Spider-Man hoodie. I swiped over to my inbox, unread messages, ignored calls, industry cold shoulders, all 'cause Steve wanted to play God. That Thursday, Tone hit me slide. "Let me show you something." We rolled up in his Charger, highway humming under our tires. He pulled off near Orinda, just outside the city. Big trees, winding roads, rich air. We parked across the street from a cream-colored two-story. In the driveway, a BMW, two white boys in basketball shorts lugging duffel bags from the garage. "You see it?" Tone asked, leaning forward, eyes gleaming. I nodded. "Yeah." "I see it. One move, bruh. Just one. You back. No more begging Steve. No more Kelsey tantrums. No more backseat loyalty tests." I lit a blunt, took a long drag, didn't answer. Didn't have to, 'cause the wheels were already turning. Chapter 13. Syrup sessions, sneak moves, and open mic madness. It started with a knock on the basement door. Not the usual knock. This one was fast. Then two slow thumps. I knew that knock. That was Tone's cousin, Red, from the projects off 69th. Loud mouth, always smelling like backwoods and trouble. He stepped in with a wide grin, and behind him, the legend himself, Keek da Sneak. "What's up with it, young Tae?" Keek said, grinning like we'd already known each other. I froze for a second, then dapped him up. "Aw, shit, what you doing in my grandma's basement? Red told me you was moving. I had to come hear that." He wasn't just bluffing. Within minutes, we loaded a beat. First one slapped so hard, Keek said, "Run it back, we ain't done." By the time the third beat looped around, the syrup had kicked in and my eyes felt low as hell. Blunt smoke swirling like spirits in the booth. Keek was spitting OG bars. I was sliding on every hook. From that day, Keek started coming through regularly. He'd pull up on a Tuesday just to vibe. We'd sip, spark, and vibe out to some 3 times crazy, reminiscing and reloading sounds. Kelsey was happy for me, but something in her eyes said she was slipping. She tried to mask it with gifts, with loyalty, with affection, but I could feel her grip loosening. Her edges weren't done like usual. She smoked more, talked less, and the way she clung to me after every studio session, it was like she knew something was slipping too. Me and Trell, we weren't speaking much. The momentum from our project faded, and he started acting funny after my name kept getting more buzz. My cousin Terrell told me, Trell be hating low-key, saying you too Hollywood now. I ain't respond. I just shrugged. Instead, I kicked it with my family more. Cousins, childhood friends, they kept it solid, but I could tell they didn't like when I did coke. They ain't say it outright, but I caught the looks, the slight shift in conversation, the silent judgments. I noticed and I started slowing down, for real. But one night brought all the chaos back. It was a local open mic in downtown Oakland, one of those who's who type of events for Bay Area underground artists. Kelsey and her sister had a plan. She got the car detailed, had her sister pull up with me in the back seat. It was for the look. Just trust me, she said. You gonna step out that back seat and they gonna look like, who the fuck is that? And they did. Heads turned, cameras flashed. I was zooted off a pill and a light bump. Shades on, hair twisted, hoodie over a designer tee. The energy was crazy. We walked into the venue, heads held high. Kelsey's sister walked ahead of us, heels clicking. Me and Kelsey slid into a VIP booth. Show was decent, couple dope acts. I was enjoying myself. I felt bigger than the room, until Kelsey's sister came storming back to the table, flustered, eyes wide. Some dude just grabbed my ass by the bathroom. Kelsey looked at me. I took a slow sip of water. My brain was fogged from the high. I looked over at her sister. She was starting to cry. In my head, I was like, bitch, you a whole trick. Why you acting brand new? But Kelsey was watching me. She needed to see something from me. Protection, leadership, rage. I nodded, got up, walked across the room until I spotted him. Light-skinned, goofy-looking dude with a red jacket. I blood, I said calmly. You grab her ass? He stammered. What? Nah, that was all I needed. I socked him clean, broke his watch on the first hit. The venue exploded. Security came rushing. I backed off, hands raised. I'm cool. They didn't kick me out. I guess the street buzz saved me that night. I went back to the booth like nothing happened. Kelsey's sister was still sobbing. Kelsey held my hand, but across the room, my cousin Terrell shook his head. Tae asked me too high, doing too much. I'ma fall back. The ride home was quiet. The pill was wearing off. My thoughts were spinning. The streets were starting to whisper again, and all I could hear was Keek's voice in the booth. You got the sound, young blood. Just stay clean. But how do you stay clean when everything around you dirty? Chapter 14. Splinters in Silence. Scene 1. Tone's cold shoulder. The street don't lie. Tae knew it before anyone said it. Word had been buzzing. Product was moving heavy. Tone's work, Tae's risk, but Tae's pockets weren't matching the whispers. It started with cousins mentioning Tone's new Rolex. Then a broad he used to fuck with slid in his DMs like, y'all still doing big things, huh? Tae played it cool, dropped a shrug emoji, but the unease stuck. So one night, Tae pulled up to Tone's spot on 82nd, just him in silence in the passenger seat. Tone was posted up on the porch, half drunk, chain swinging, talking in circles with a couple of his folks. Tae waited for the laughter to die down before stepping up. Let me holler at you real quick. Tone nodded toward the sidewalk. They walked 10 feet into the dark. I've been hearing the pack moving, Tae said, voice low but firm. But I ain't seen nothing. That don't feel right. Tone didn't miss a beat. Lit a black and mild, took a drag, exhaled like he'd been waiting for this convo. Shit, bro. You know what it is, he said, shrugging. Wait your turn. Tae stared at him for a long second. That wasn't an answer. That was a brush off dressed like patience. Aye, Tae said finally. Say less. He turned and walked off, jaw tight. In his mind, though, a mental line had been drawn in red. Scene 2, Kelsey's last spiral revised. Tae's phone buzzed around midnight. Kelsey. He hadn't heard from her in weeks, not since she cursed him out for not responding to her I love you text with enough urgency. He hesitated, then answered. Hey, Tae, she whispered. I need you. The voice wasn't cracked out. It wasn't slurred. If anything, it was too calm, almost seductive. Motel off 880 in Fremont, room 209. Please click. He stared at the screen for a second, then grabbed his hoodie. The motel was dim and cheap, but when Tae opened the door to 209, the smell of expensive perfume hit his nose first. Candles burned on the nightstand. Silk lingerie lay on the bed. Kelsey stood in the corner wearing only a robe and her favorite lipstick. She looked good. Too good. Clean, sober, eyes clear. But something else was there. Desperation hiding under lashes and lip gloss. I missed you, she said. I know I'm crazy, but you're the only man who ever made me feel like I wasn't. Tae didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. She walked closer, robe slipping off her shoulder. I held you down, Tae, 4 fucking years. When everybody else left, I was there. He didn't deny it. She was right. And maybe that's why he didn't step back when she pressed her palm against his chest. But he also didn't move forward. And that pause, that one moment of indecision, she caught it. You don't want me no more, she said, stepping back. Kelsey. No, she said, voice rising. Don't lie to me. You think you too good now. You getting shows, little mixtapes, bitches in your inbox. He sighed. You want me to lie or be honest? That was the wrong answer. Her hand shot up, spit flying toward his cheek. Tae didn't flinch. He wiped his face with the sleeve of his hoodie, turned toward the door. She died in that motel that night, he thought as he stepped into the hallway. I just didn't go to the funeral. Scene 3 studio grind. The beat slapped so hard the walls of Yoshi's garage studio trembled. Tae sat in the booth, shirt off, sweat dripping, locked into the verse like it was therapy. If I don't get my cut, I'm cutting ties. Yoshi hit the intercom. That's it, bro. That's the one. Cousin Rel nodded from the couch, sipping out a red cup. Shit sound like a warning, my boy. Maybe it is, Tae said, stepping out. They recorded 2 more tracks that night, but the fire in Tae's voice had Yoshi leaning forward during playback. You ever thought about shooting this to Empire? Yoshi asked. Tae blinked. The label? Yeah. I know someone who knows someone. Could slide it. Tae stared at the monitor, the sound of his own voice echoing back at him. Or maybe it was time to cut the middleman out. Scene 4, Patrice in peace. Tae's phone buzzed again around 2 a.m. Patrice. She never called this late. He stepped outside to take it. Hey, I ain't asking for no fairy tale, Tae, she said, voice soft. But I want us to be real, for our daughter. I don't want her growing up wondering why her daddy only shows up when it's convenient. Tae felt that, deep. You right, he said. I ain't perfect, she continued, but I don't run games. I don't throw shade. The door's not locked, Tae. It's open. Whenever you ready. It was the calm in her voice that hit harder than any scream. Scene 5, the San Jose setup. The call came the next day. Kelsey again, crying this time, shaky, but something felt different. I just need you to come, she said. He had his son with him, but something in her voice felt final. They drove out to San Jose, little Tae asleep in the back seat. Kelsey had dropped a pin to a house in Alum Rock. Just wait outside, she texted. I'll only be a minute. Tae sat back, scrolling Instagram. That's when he heard it. Daddy, Daddy, help me. Everything froze. He jumped out, eyes darting. No door in sight. He panicked, circled around, busted the front window before spotting the side entrance. He kicked it in. The hallway was dark. Bathroom light spilled into the hall, and standing right in front of the door was a short Asian man, breathing heavy, holding a knife. Tae didn't hesitate, pulled the pistol. "Drop that shit now!" The man froze. Tae cracked him across the jaw with the butt of the Glock. The blade clattered to the floor. He grabbed Kelsey, wrapped in a towel, shaking like a leaf. In the car, she finally spoke. "He paid me, told me to call him Master. I giggled and he smacked the shit out of me. When I said no, he wouldn't stop. I locked myself in the bathroom." "I ain't know what I would have done if you ain't come," she whispered. "I love you, Tae." He didn't respond. He looked in the rearview mirror. His son was awake, staring wide-eyed. Chapter 15. Back outside. Tae stood on the sidewalk outside Patrice's spot, hands in his pockets, hoodie pulled low over his eyes. The sun dipped behind the Oakland skyline, casting long shadows over cracked pavement in quiet regret. She opened the door slow, belly flat, no glow, just silence. "You not gonna come in?" she asked. He stepped inside. The apartment smelled like sage and old arguments. They sat. "I ain't pregnant, Tae," she said finally. He nodded once, smirked. I thought it would keep you close, or at least make you choose." He didn't get mad. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked at the floor for a moment, then let out a small laugh. "You remember how you used to giggle every time you came?" he said, still looking down. She looked away, lips pressed. "That ain't fair." "Nah," he said, standing up. "It's just true. Ima missed that shit they hugged. Real soft. Like strangers who once were lovers." Then he left. Selena sat cross-legged on the bed, rolling a blunt with military precision. Marissa leaned over the dresser mirror, fixing her lashes. "So you really down with this poly shit?" Tae asked, half laughing. Selena shrugged. "MTV stay having them weird-ass white folks in poly homes. If they can do it, why not us?" Tae grinned, pacing the room in his socks. "4 big-ass titties in one bed? I'm down for the experiment." Marissa smirked. "I'm just here for the vibes." Later that night, it was a blur of smoke, pills, and bodies. Tae had Selena bent over the edge of the bed, her breath catching on every stroke. She turned her head, giggling as he pulled her closer. "You laughing? You hitting the spot, that's why." He chuckled, sweat glistening down his chest. Marissa kissed his neck from behind, hands roaming. It wasn't love, but it was something. Steve came crawling back like bad Wi-Fi. "That Keek record got you lit, bro. We gotta move fast." Tae leaned back in the leather studio chair, chains glistening. "What's in it for me?" "Visuals. EP. We shoot 2 videos, lock in some club walkthroughs. Hottest DJs already asking about you. They dropped a 6-song EP called Saucy Blood. The streets loved it. The clubs played it. Steve acted like he owned it. But Tae's cousins had other plans. Slick and Skater popped out hard every show. Versace shades. Louis belts. Every time they walked in, it looked like the ceiling dipped a few inches. Steve started hating, quietly. Slick. He was built different. Grew up flipping cars off Craigslist with fake pink slips, scamming credit cards out of mailboxes in Walnut Creek. Busted $100,000 moves before 25, hustle in his veins. "Slick ain't just a nickname," Tae said once. "It's a resume." It was a Friday, packed club, show night. Tae and very important person, music bumping, bottles clinking. He leaned against the bar, eyes half lidded. He reached into his 5th pocket, slipped out the baggie. One smooth scoop with the pinky. Snort, head back, eyes closed. When he looked up, his reflection caught in the mirror behind the bottles. Cold, foreign, distant. "What the fuck am I doing, bruh?" The music kept playing, but something inside Tae didn't. Chapter 15. Powder, Pressure, and New Temptations. The embassy suites in Union City was dim, quiet, but buzzing with tension. Tae sat back on the couch, red-eyed, nose tingling from the Coke plate in front of him. Kelsey and her friend Jada passed the plate between them, each taking long, confident snorts like it was casual. "I got 10 bands in 2 days, Kelsey said, wiping her nose. "These niggas don't own me, they pay just to breathe the same air," Jada cackled. "Period, sis." Tae exhaled slowly, watching the smoke curl from his lips. His mind was already on tilt. "You know what's funny?" Kelsey kept going. "Half these dudes broke, including the ones thinking they my man." That's when Tae sat forward. "Bitch," he said calmly, "I've been getting money with or without you. When you met me, I was eating. Prison ain't stopped shit. Stop fronting like you made me." The room fell silent. Jada blinked. Kelsey's lips tightened. Tae grabbed his keys, slipped on his hoodie, and walked out. He wasn't about to argue with a coke-fueled ego trip. Outside in the black Impala, Tae sat gripping the steering wheel. He opened the speaker box under the seat and pulled out A38. High, irritated, itching. "I need to come up," he muttered. "One more clown pull up, it's a lick." And then the white Camry pulled up. Kelsey was already outside, looking into the car, smiling like she was on a date. Tae's eyes narrowed. She didn't even know he was watching. A tall man stepped out, 6 feet 3 inches, clean fit, fresh cut, confident. Kelsey didn't say a word. Tae stepped out the Impala, walked up with his gun tucked. The man and Tae locked eyes. Kelsey whispered, "Dante, chill." Tae rushed him. Crack. One to the temple, crack. Another to the jaw, crack. Blood sprayed. The dude dropped, dazed. Tae stood over him with blood dripping down his hand, jeans, and shirt. His white True Religion hat was now streaked red. Kelsey screamed, "What the fuck?" Tae looked at her, said nothing, got back in the car and drove off. Later that night, he was back at his grandma's house, in the dark, on the couch, high, eyes wide open. He grabbed his phone, checked messages. A DM from Selena popped up. "You looking good out here. Stay dangerous." Selena. Thick thighs, soft brown skin, curly hair. Used to give wild head back in the day. He typed, "Where you been?" "Santa Rosa." "Slide through." 2 days later, Tae pulled up to a condo with clean paint and bright porch lights. Selena opened the door in boy shorts and a tank top. Inside smelled like vanilla and weed. "Come in," she grinned. "Marissa here too." Marissa, red boned, taller, curvy in all the right ways. She wore a robe, sipped Casamigos. "We was just talking about you," Selena said. "She said she wanted to meet the nigga I kept talking about." Tae raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah?" Marissa licked her lips. "Said you was a freak. I came to see for myself. That night was chaos. Pills, laughs, bodies tangled in the sheets, music low, moans louder." Tae passed out with Selena's thigh across his chest and Marissa's hand resting on his stomach. He woke up before them, walked to the bathroom, and stared at himself in the mirror. Blood still on his shoes. The cut on his knuckle barely healing. He wiped his face, muttered, "These women gonna kill me before the streets do." Chapter 16, cold cash, hot nights, pillow talk, poly confusion. It was one of them nights where everything felt like a dream dipped in sin and wrapped in bass. The apartment smelled like weed, coconut body oil, and faint cologne. Selena had just lit an incense, one of those Nag Champa joints she swore cleared bad energy. Marissa was lounging on the couch in her thong, long legs crossed, painting her nails while the TV murmured in the background. Selena walked out the room wearing my t-shirt and nothing else. She had this slick grin, eyes half lidded from the blunt we passed earlier. "You think we too wild?" she asked, straddling my lap. "For what?" "For being this open. This us." I smirked. "You started this shit." She laughed, low and nasty, and motioned to Marissa. "Come sit on Daddy's other leg." Marissa didn't hesitate. She slid in like a shadow, soft eyes pressing into mine, Her lips glossed and wet. They started touching each other before they touched me. It wasn't love, it was something else. Need, maybe. Territory, possession. When they took turns kissing me, I felt like I owned the room, the moment, the city. Selena whispered in my ear, "You know I'd kill for you, right?" Marissa added, "and I'd die just to be next to you." Clothes came off slow, kisses like honey laced with poison. I bent Marissa over the armrest, her ass bouncing. Selena rubbed her own pussy, watching, moaning. I fell back on the couch afterward, heart still pounding. They started kissing again. Before I could even say something slick, they locked into a 69 right there in front of me, moaning, tongues wild, bodies folding like water. I shook my head, smirked. "You bitches is crazy." Music moves. Next day, I linked with Steve at a downtown cafe. He was back wearing his loud-ass Versace shirt, dark Gucci shades, acting like he never ghosted me for 2 years. "You back for real?" I asked. "I never left, baby. Just had to realign my circles," he said, sipping a lavender latte with both pinkies out like he was sipping royalty. He pulled out a MacBook and showed me the streams on our Saucy Blood EP. Over 50K in the first week. Walkthroughs, Bay Area club sets, local DJs playing our shit during traffic hour. We had movement. He started talking about a label in LA wanting to fly us down. It's indie, not major, but they'll press vinyl, invest in videos, get you a press run. But I'm gonna need full creative control on my end, he said. I leaned back in my seat. I need to see paperwork. "No funny shit this time," I told him, locking eyes. From across the street, I saw Slick leaning against the Charger watching us. Steve caught the glance. "Your cousin don't trust me?" I shrugged. "He don't trust nobody. But he from the soil. Slick was real. That nigga got his name by flipping Benzes at 19 and busting 40K card plays in the Valley by 21. Taught me about LLCs before I knew what child support meant. Now he was designer down every time we popped out. Amiri jeans, Cartier frames, Cuban links swinging like he owned every room. Slick told me later, "Watch that Steve shit. Old friends always be the first ones to write you off when the math stopped mathin'." I kept that in my pocket. Chapter 17, Street Royalty and Industry Snakes. Slick's story, hustler born. Slick wasn't flashy because he wanted attention. He was flashy because he earned it. Born Darnell Mays, West Oakland raised, projects the penthouse vision. He was Tae's cousin on his mama's side, older by 3 years and always 5 steps ahead in the game. By 16, he was already moving used Hondas and flipping them through shell buyers in Stockton. By 18, he was sliding through Atlanta with a fake ID and 4 fully approved credit lines. He didn't talk fast. He didn't need to. The room slowed down for him. One time, Tae asked him how he made his first 50 bands. "Man, I hit for 100 fake EDD cards before it was even cool. Got my shit from this Haitian plug in the city. Ran it up, parked it, and switched the hustle," he said, flicking ashes from a gold-plated blunt holder. By the time Tae came home from prison, Slick already had a condo off Lake Merritt, a Benz with a stash box and a reputation that made people shake his hand with both palms. But he never judged Tae's highs, never side-eyed his women. He was solid. Steve shadow games. Meanwhile, Steve had been moving funny. He played the industry like a card table, showing face at showcases, buying drinks for the right DJs, whispering Tae's name in ears that mattered. But behind closed doors, he was cutting side deals, leveraging Tae's name for hosting gigs and sponsorship checks Tae never saw. Slick knew it. He watched him closely. "Bruh, Steve been using yo buzz, that saucy blood eat. He got a back-end deal from the distro that ain't in the paperwork." Tae leaned on the hood of the Charger, blunt burning, eyes low. "You sure?" Check who owns the YouTube page, the real one with the views. It ain't your login, is it? Tae checked it wasn't. Steve had moved Slick to Slick. You gonna handle it? Slick asked. Tae took a long drag. I'ma let him think I'm sleeping. The Empire meeting. A week later, Steve set up a sit-down with a rep from Empire Records. Tae showed up clean, black hoodie, gold grill in, Cartier frames, slicked locks. Slick came too, designer down, carrying Tae's unreleased single on a USB in his pocket. Steve introduced everyone like he was Suge Knight without the weight. This here's Tae the Don, hottest out the bay since the hyphy died, he said, laughing. The label guy nodded, impressed. Heard saucy blood, y'all really got something. But we want to focus more on visuals, cut an EP and roll it into a regional push. Slick leaned in. And who's controlling the master splits? Steve cut in quick. We're a team, fam, all under one roof. Tae just smiled, thinking, this snake really thinks I don't know he's biting off me. Selena and Marissa talked. Back at the apartment, Selena and Marissa shared a bottle of red wine, half dressed, half high, talking in between slow smirks. I think he's starting to really love you, Marissa said, brushing her hair back. Selena laughed. Please, that man's still thinking with his dick. Marissa stretched her legs across the couch, toes brushing Selena's thigh. But he listens to you. He follows your moods. Selena smirked. That's because I created this, all of this. I said let's share him, and here we are. House, studio, him in the middle. They sat in silence a second. You love him? Marissa asked. Selena didn't blink. Not in a fairy tale way, but if he asked me to marry him tonight, I'd say yes just to keep other bitches from thinking they could. Marissa nodded. Same decision time. Later that night, Tae sat on the balcony watching the city lights flicker like signals from other dimensions. He had Selena's bare thigh under one hand and a blunt in the other. Marissa lay across both their laps, sleep breathing slow. His phone buzzed. Steve meeting locked in with 99.7 FM, 2 p.m. Tuesday. Let's go. Tae read it twice, then deleted it. He looked at Slick's text from earlier. Slick, time to flip the board. Get your masters. Own your name. Fuck loyalty if it ain't mutual. Tae looked at both women, smiled to himself. Empire, huh? He said out loud. Selena stirred, eyes still closed. You leaving us? Nah, Tae said. I'm just getting started. Triggers and truth. A week later, we had a show in Richmond. Tight crowd, energy stupid. DJ dropped our intro. Steve on the mic, gassing. Slick and Skater in the cut looking like rap royalty. After our set, we slid to the bar behind the club. That's when the moment happened. I was feeling too high off the crowd, the weed, the women. I slipped my little pack out my fifth pocket. Took a bump off my pinky right there at the bar, no shame. Looked up and caught my own reflection in the mirror behind the bottles. My eyes red, pupils blown, sweat on my neck. For a second, I saw my silly Shane from Folsom. Top rack, always tweaking, always whispering to himself, ramming his head into the wall at night like he was trying to knock the demons loose. I remember thinking, I'll never be that nigga, and yet here I was. Pinky up, numb tongue, chasing ghosts. I stood there frozen. Time slowed. The music in the background faded. I just walked outside and lit a cigarette I didn't even want. Looked up at the stars and thought about my son. About my mama. My son. All the shit I seen. All the shit I survived. Now I'm in the burbs, getting high with two big-tittied yellow bitches having my way like a Don. Then I heard it again from inside, moaning. They were at it again, Selena and Marissa, locked up in another 69 like they were trying to prove who needed me more. I just stood there watching through the patio door. You bitches is crazy, I said again, laughing. But part of me, I was right there with them. Chapter 18. weight of the ride. We were running hot, music booming in the streets, verses doing numbers, weed moving smooth, and the women, my queens. Selena and Marissa were all in, every session, every trip, every lick. We was out here shining like bay gods, pimping, pushing, praying just enough to feel safe. I had the bay on lock. Casey showed me real love too. First time I touched down, they screamed my name like I was already gold certified. That shit made me emotional. At the meet and greet in a North KC lounge, some old heads from Oakland walked in, heads held high, chains swinging. OGs from the town. They'd moved out here but still carried the smell of East 14th in their lungs. We linked heavy, kicked freestyles in alleyways, made a few tracks in a low-key home studio, and the vibe was organic. No ego, just hustle and hunger. That's when it hit me. I was really building something. The money came in from all angles. The shows, the weed, verses, walkthroughs, even a couple out-of-town licks tone lined up through Red. Marissa kept traffic coming. Selena handled the connects. I was weight pimping without having to break a sweat. Designer drip every day, back ends after every show, bottles waiting at every club. But like always, the high only lasts so long. We were headed back from Bakersfield, just outside Fresno, 3 cars deep. I was riding first car, Selena riding shotgun, Marissa in the back. The sun had just dipped behind the trees and the sky was giving that dusty orange heat glow. I had on some butter-soft cargos, a crisp white Pro Club Louis belt, hair braided tight, shades dark as secrets. Then I saw 3 patrol cars up ahead. One flipped a U right behind us. Shit, I muttered. Selena looked up from her phone. Is that for us? I didn't answer, just peeped the mirrors. They was closing in fast. Put the thing in your titties, I said to Marissa. What? In your bra, girl? But she froze. Selena, too. They was badasses in the club, in the booth, in the sheets, but that law pressure hit different. Them cherries and berries lit up like 4th of July and both girls turned pale. I think they pulling the last car, Selena whispered. I saw it too. They hit the last whip first. Stay calm, I said, turning the music down and watching my speed. Then I saw it, a dip in the road, quick right turn near the Fresno Zoo. No lights on us yet, no sirens, just the tension pressing against my chest like a seatbelt made of bricks. Throw it, I barked. Marissa opened the window and tossed the heat out hard. Blah. Gun hit the pavement, went off once, loud, echoing. They ducked in the car, screaming. I kept driving. Eyes straight, hands tight. Made that right, dipped into traffic, and merged onto the freeway like nothing ever happened. No lights, no chase, no sirens. We rode in silence. All I could hear was our breath and the tires humming on the concrete. I wasn't even high no more, just alert, hyper-aware. I could still hear that pistol echo in my head. We made it back to the bay. Quiet. Nobody said a word until we hit my spot in the hills. That night, after some wild sex, the type that always follows near-death adrenaline, we laid there, tangled in each other, half naked and half alive. I lit a black and mild and stared at the ceiling fan spinning like my mind. I could have just went down, I thought. Prison, death, my son growing up without me. Shit don't hit you when the lights flash. It hits you after the dust settles, when the night goes still and you still breathing. I got up and poured a drink. Sat on the balcony in my boxers, stars above me, city lights below. Marissa slid the door open, walked out with just my white tee on. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. You good, baby? Yeah, I said, even though I wasn't. She kissed my neck. We stood there in silence, just breathing. Somewhere deep down I knew it was time to slow down. But the streets don't hand out breaks, they make you crash. Or make you choose. And I wasn't ready to stop flying yet. Chapter 19, she played me money in movement. Tae's finally seeing all his hustles come together. Music royalties, pounds moving smooth, Marissa still in the streets earning, and Selena locked into the business like a real partner. They'd leveled up. No more trapping out the crib. Tae had a short-term lease downtown Oakland overlooking the water. Sleek condo, mirror ceilings, liquor cart. His son had his own little space too. Nerf guns, Jordans, and a bunk bed Tae never had growing up. Tae started buying time. Time with his son, time in the studio. Time to just be. And that's when Slick stepped in. The takeover, Slick versus Steve. Steve had been ghost for months, popping back up once the buzz around Saucy Blood got hot. But his energy felt recycled. Tae had moved on, and Slick was the one making moves now. Designer fits, Cartier frames, and enough clout in the Bay to get Tae on the radio without begging. When Steve tried to sneak back in, Tae hit him with a cold truth. Appreciate what you did, but this ain't your vision no more. It's mine. Slick got it from here. Steve's smile cracked for a second before he dipped. That chapter was over. Video shoot in Vegas, fight weekend, Mayweather versus whoever. The strip was flooded. Slick booked an Airbnb mansion, pool in the back, big-ass flamingo floaties. Jungle juice so strong it could bring back the dead. Tae pulled up with Skater and Tuan, bitches in bikinis running wild. Marissa and Selena had on matching red two-pieces, ass out, lips glossed. A couple groupies from L.A. got their drinks spiked with e-pills. Not in a grimy way, but in that this night finna be legendary way. Everyone was with it. The camera guy had a drone, a red cam, and 2 assistants. They shot slow-motion scenes of Tae pouring champagne on thick girls' thighs. Selena twerking on the roof, Marissa kissing Tae in the pool, flash, flash, flash. The track, she played me. An auto-tuned, toxic, raw banger about betrayal, lust, and leveling up. The hook slapped. She played me, then paid me, came back, now she hate me. Vegas was a movie, they popped pills. Tae got head on the balcony, and right before sunrise, Slick whispered, "This the rollout blood. From here on out, it's up. Fresno speed bump." The come-up wasn't all glitter. Coming back from a show in KC, they took the long way through Fresno. Tae was in the lead car. Selena riding shotgun, Marissa half asleep in the back. They just hotboxed the whip and had 2 straps tucked, cherry lights lit up behind them. 3 cop cars deep. "Put the gun in y'all titties," Tae barked, trying to stay calm. They panicked. Tae cut through a side street by the zoo. Marissa tossed the Glock. It hit the ground and discharged. Blah. No sirens. Just silence. Tae drove off smooth, heart pounding. They made it back to the Bay, but he couldn't sleep. At dawn, they circled back and retrieved the gun. It was still there. Courtroom pressure. 2 weeks later, Tae got picked up. Cops claimed they had video, fingerprints. He lawyered up quick. Illegal search. No warrant. No probable cause, his lawyer said. 6 months probation. That was it. I beat the system, Tae told Slick. Now let's beat the game. Real growth. That night, Tae tucked his son in and sat on the edge of the bed just thinking, I got love, I got money from losing it all. I got my name buzzing, but I'm still one wrong move. He pulled out his phone, opened his notes app, wrote 3 words, "Don't fuck up." Outside, Marissa and Selena laughed. Somewhere between trouble and home, Tae had found his lane. For now, Chapter 20, what next? The Vegas sun hit different after a long night, harsh, judging. Tae sat on the edge of a king-size bed in the Airbnb off Flamingo, bare-chested, briefs twisted, still smelling like sex and syrup. The mansion they rented for the Mayweather fight was trashed. Glitter on the carpet, Henny bottles in the pool, a half-eaten blunt floating in the jacuzzi, a speaker still bumping Larry June softly in the background. Selena was half asleep on the couch, one leg hanging off, her thigh tattoo smeared with coconut oil and lip gloss. Marissa was curled up under a sheet on the floor, makeup smudged, lips swollen. They'd been at it all night, freaky, reckless, everything Tae used to dream about when he was locked behind bars. Money counted itself in this life. Tae was back in his zone. Manager role? Slick ran that now. Steve had been phased out quick. Bro was too busy politicking. Slick was about action. He had Tae doing walkthroughs in Houston, pushing mixtapes through Empire, booking Vegas house parties with influencers, modeling chicks and Instagram promoters. Tae's name was hot, and the image matched. The Airbnb was chaos. Baddies walking through in robes, some topless, others still buzzing off Molly-laced jungle juice. One of them giggled when she saw Tae sit up. "You look like you need round 4, she teased. He smirked, waved her off. "Nah, I need a glass of water and a new life." She laughed and walked off, swinging her hips. Tae stood, cracked his neck, and made his way to the mirror in the bathroom. Looked at himself long, still had the chain on. Gold glinting in the harsh daylight, red eyes, slight stubble, but he looked like a boss, finally. But he also looked tired. Flashback. Vegas video shoot. 3 days ago, the same mansion looked like a movie set. Camera crews, models, drone shots overhead. Tae stood in front of a matte black Benz truck, shirtless, red bandana tied around his neck, glistening in the desert heat. They filmed for the She Played Me video, a wild, gritty love song over a bass slap beat with a dirty acoustic guitar melody. Slick had pulled the strings. Tuan flew in from Atlanta with 2 videographers. Bitches flew in from Miami and Portland. All Instagram famous, all down to get cinematic. Tae stood on the marble counter in the kitchen, rapping into the camera while 2 girls fed him strawberries. Marissa and Selena were there too. They knew their role. They played it well, matching swimsuits, matching energy. They did a scene in the pool where they poured champagne on each other and kissed under the waterfall. Tae stayed off the powder during the shoot. Focus. He knew this one mattered. That night they celebrated like kings, back to present. Now it was morning. The silence after the high. Tae grabbed his phone, checked texts, a video from Slick. It was already going viral. Tae in the Benz, shirt open, Selena in the passenger seat licking her lips. Her Vegas baby typed over it, 24K views in 2 hours. He put the phone down, stared at the floor. His son popped into his head. He missed him. The last time they linked, they went to the pier in Richmond, ate funnel cake, played the basketball game. His son had a new laugh now, a little deeper, starting to look more like Tae every time. Tae promised he'd come see him after the Vegas run, maybe this week. He stepped outside. The desert air slapped him awake. Slick nodded at him, handed him a blunt. "You good?" Tae puffed, exhaled. "I'm straight, just tired blood. We winning, but I don't feel shit." Slick looked at him sideways. "That's 'cause you ain't stopped moving. You ain't processed none of this. You got money, music, bad bitches, and a crib waiting back home. You ain't broke no more. Act like it." Tae laughed low. "You right. I just be thinking too much sometimes." A long silence stretched. Then Slick stood up, stretched, and said, "Let's hit Roscoe's before we slide. And we picking that blower up before we hit the freeway." Tae nodded. "Bet." Inside, Selena and Marissa were making breakfast in matching t-shirts, still high, still laughing. Tae walked in, kissed them both on the forehead. Selena raised an eyebrow. "What's that for?" "Just 'cause," Tae said, smirking. "Y'all crazy as hell, but I love this shit." They smiled. That night would be another story. Another flick on the phone, another private snap. But in that moment, Tae felt like a man who had built his world from the dirt, even if the dirt still clung to his kicks. He didn't know what tomorrow held, but today he had it all. Chapter 21, Aftermath. Back in the Bay, everything felt a little too quiet. The fog hit different than that dry Vegas air. Tae sat on his grandma's porch in West Oakland, hoodie on, blunt burning, face buried in his phone. His son was inside watching Loud House with a plate of Eggo waffles and apple juice. Patrice dropped him off 2 days ago. No drama this time, just a quick hug, a long stare, and a you got him for the weekend. Tae needed the break from the madness. Vegas had been legendary, but something about that trip haunted him a little. The gunshot, the energy, the adrenaline. Selena passed out in his lap while Marissa danced barefoot in the backyard under pink LED lights. That shit was wild, too wild. Text from Slick. We on again next month, Houston. I locked in the Airbnb and club date. Bring the girls if they ain't tripping. Tae didn't respond right away. He had bigger things on his mind. That night in Vegas, after the video shoot, after the pills and jungle juice and the 69 in the living room, Tae had stepped outside to breathe. For the first time, he didn't feel untouchable. He felt watched, like it was all building towards something heavy. Studio vibes back in motion. Back in the lab with Yoshi 2 nights later, Tae was back on beat mode. They worked on a track called Legacy, slower tempo, minor key. Tae wasn't rapping about coke and women this time. He was rapping about his son, about being numb, about not trusting love but needing it anyway. The room went still after his last bar. If I die tonight, tell my son don't be like me. Learn to build more than buzz. Build legacy. Yoshi didn't even hit stop on the track. He just sat back and nodded. That's the one. Tae nodded too. Yeah, it's time I shift gears. Steve's last shot. Meanwhile, Steve was plotting. Tae hadn't returned his last 3 calls. The buzz around the saucy blood tape had grown legs. The visuals had real views. Club walkthroughs started turning into real bookings. Steve had plugged Tae with some of his early connects, but Tae had Slick now, and Slick was running laps around Steve's industry politics. Tae heard from a DJ that Steve was salty, trying to backdoor features for other artists and say he made Tae. Tae laughed. He made me? I was Tae the Don before they let me out. Fatherhood in focus. The next weekend, Tae picked his son up and took him out to the Berkeley Marina. They walked the pier, ate burgers, threw rocks in the water. His son held his hand the whole time. Daddy? Yeah, champ? Why you always got 2 phones? Tae laughed. One for business, one for family. His son nodded like he understood something profound. Later, back at the crib, Tae played his son the edited version of Legacy. The boy nodded to the beat, then said, That's you? Tae smiled. That's me. Monologue. Late night thought spiral. That night, Tae laid in bed, both phones on silent, the TV glowing low. He stared at the ceiling. What's next? He had money. He had music. He had girls. He had his name bubbling again. But he also had temptation on every corner, enemies watching, a target on his back, and a son in the next room who deserved more than just a weekend dad with a gun charge and an entourage. His thoughts spun, then slowed. Maybe it was time to build something real. He wasn't there yet, but he was close. Chapter 22, Don's Status. Tae's phone buzzed on the glass table next to the half-finished backwood and the Don Status weed jars stacked in a tight pyramid. He glanced at the screen. Another order. Sacramento had been good to him. Better than Oakland ever was. Wide driveways, fat lawns, and the kind of silence that told you your enemies weren't walking distance anymore. Tae sat in his kitchen, shirtless in designer shorts, his iced out the Don chain resting on his chest like a badge of survival. His son sat across from him, eating cereal and watching YouTube Kids. I like this one, little Tae said. You funny, yeah? Tae smiled. You funnier than him, the boy beamed. The weed was moving. Don's Status was no longer just a local thing. It was Tae's legacy in motion. He had logos, strain drop flyers, jars labeled Forever young presence, Don status, town OG, and the money was clean. Even Slick was impressed. We need to hit Vegas next month. Slick said over FaceTime, big fight weekend. We can triple up on promo link with these new cats Tuan knows from Phoenix. I'm with it, Tae said, staring out the window, his son humming in the background. But that peace, it didn't last long. Chapter 23, Love in Translation. Selena paced the hallway barefoot, satin robe tied loose around her waist. She picked up her phone and typed, then deleted. Typed again. You always deleting shit, Marissa said, perched on the bed, legs crossed, hoodie barely covering her ass. I just don't want to start no unnecessary shit. You mean you don't want him to know you feel like second fiddle? Selena glared. Whatever. You still letting him hit me, so what that make you? Marissa smirked. Selena turned away, but her voice cracked. I'm tired, Riss. I'm really tired. I've been holding him down since county. Now we got this fat-ass house, business booming, but we still living like there's a trap house downstairs. No peace, just movement. And money, Marissa added. Selena sighed. Money ain't enough anymore. Marissa stood up and walked to the mirror. You knew what it was? Yeah. And I grew out of it. Silence. Tae came home later that night, the smell of loud still clinging to his hoodie. He saw them on the couch, both watching Netflix like nothing was wrong. You good? He asked. Selena forced a smile. Always. He nodded, but the way she looked at him made his stomach twist. Chapter 24. Vegas smoke, chain checks, and new blood. Vegas always looked better from the suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the city's glow. Liquor, lust, and lies wrapped in lead. Tae sat back on the velvet couch, a fresh blunt in hand, thick clouds trailing toward the recessed ceiling. The suite was 5-star, jacuzzi in the room, champagne chilled and neon flickering from the strip down below. He wasn't alone. Kim, Houston native, thighs thick enough to quiet a room, ass that moved like it came with a soundtrack, lips like peaches soaked in Hennessy, long hair, cocoa skin, country twang with every baby in you. While Tae loved that shit, Selena and Marissa were out doing their own thing, shopping, spa, whatever. Tae was moving different now. No more running around town just to say he did it. This was strategy. This was elevation. Slick slid out the bathroom, adjusting his gold link, side thing in tow, a red bone with lashes so long she had to blink in slow motion. They hit the shops at Crystal's earlier, blue racks, Balenciaga sneakers, custom shades, chrome hearts belt for Tae. The whole team dressed like labels were religion. Dinner was garlic butter ribeye at Mastro's. Everyone toasting the Don status, Tae's new weed strain that had just locked in 2 dispensaries and had smokeheads in Sacramento lined up like Jordan drops in '96. But the night wasn't done. When they walked out of the steakhouse and hit the lot to get in the black SUV, Tae was the last one to hop in. He paused, flicked his chain straight, looked over his shoulder out of habit just in case. That's when it happened. A hand yanked him back by his coat. Run that chain, blood, the voice said, sharp and twitchy. Small dude, hoodie up, gun drawn. This wasn't Oakland. Tae wasn't walking around armed. He panicked, snapped back hard, foot kicking toward the dude's chest while yelling, "Drive off, go!" The driver floored it. Tires screamed. Kim screamed louder. The gun barked, blam, blam. Tae hit the floor of the truck, heart pounding. Miraculously, nobody was hit. By the time they got back to the suite, Tae's face was carved in stone. Slick slammed his hand against the bar in the kitchen, pacing, shirt half buttoned. Shit was a setup, he muttered. Tae said nothing at first, just stood by the window again, that same Vegas glow now mocking. Get me to the airport, he finally said, calm but final. I ain't sleeping here. Kim opened her mouth, but Tae cut her off. Y'all grab the bags, I'm gone. He was on the first flight out. By the time Selena and Marissa called asking where he was, Tae was already on a private runway in Sac, twisting up a blunt and tapping in with his people. Within 72 hours, word came back. Some small-time gangbangers from Denver visiting the city for the fight weekend thought they'd caught a sweet lick, thought Tae was just another rapper with jewelry and no muscle. Wrong, very wrong. One name, one Instagram handle. That's all Tae needed. And Slick was livid. "You know how we moving, bro," he said. "Vegas ain't finna be no stain on our name." 2 weeks later, Tae was back in Sin City, quiet. No stories posted, no flashy fits, just business. He met with his Crip homie from LA, a dude who moved like a ghost but had weight in Vegas. They linked at a jerk chicken spot on Flamingo. Tae wore a hoodie low, but his chain still caught light when he leaned into the booth. Then the robbers walked in. Tae stood, pulled back his hoodie just a bit. The chain sparkled. "Hey, fool, you remember me?" he asked, tilting his head. The guy froze, stammered. I don't think we smack." Tae hit him with the butt of a Glock so fast the dude's legs buckled. Screams, phones out. Slick and Skater rushed in. Fists, feet. The dude lost a tooth. His girl tried to pull him back but caught a stray elbow. It was chaos, and it was all over Instagram within hours. #JerkChickenJumpout. The clip looped everywhere. Blogs, Reddit, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Back in Sacramento, Tae sat on the edge of his bed watching it unfold. His son was asleep in the next room. Selena was in the shower. The whole house smelled like weed and shea butter. His stomach twisted. Then came the knock. Detectives. He was taken in on charges of assault with great bodily injury. They offered a deal, 2 years with half time or press charges on the robbers from Vegas, who were already ID'd in the system. Tae chose silence. No snitching. He took the time. Chapter 25. Chain of events. The steel bus growled as it curved down Highway 101. The hum of shackles rattling against steel echoed low beneath the humming engine. Tae sat slumped against the cold pane of reinforced glass, watching the golden hills of California blur by. San Quentin to Coalinga wasn't just a ride. It was a crawl. Vacaville, Tracy, Mule Creek, Corcoran. Every prison stop came with another hour, another pat down, another shiver on a cold bench. They sat like cattle, ankles cuffed, wrists chained, silence all around except for 1 or 2 dudes humming to themselves to stay sane. Tae's thoughts drifted as the wheels rolled. He thought about the night in Vegas, the slap, the teeth, the chain glistening in the streetlights, how fast everything went viral, cell phone clips, blogs, fake narratives, and then the knock on his door in Sacramento. "Mr. Johnson, step outside. We need to talk." His lawyer did what he could, beat the possession, but that GBI stuck like syrup on carpet. 2 years with half time. Could have got the other dude charged for the robbery, but Tae made a decision. He wasn't no snitch. He'd eat it. Now here he was, chained to a lifer from Modesto who smelled like top ramen and bad decisions. "You rap, right?" the lifer asked without turning his head. Tae nodded once. "You gonna make it out of here, my boy. Just don't let this place turn you into something you ain't." That hit different. Reception at San Quentin was a blur. 23-hour lockdown, cold trays, concrete, and echoes. But Tae had imagination. And this time, his fantasies weren't made up. They were memories. 3 women in bed, champagne on her thighs. His son laughing in the back seat as they rode to Disneyland, shooting the saucy blood video in Vegas, jungle juice and ass everywhere. Sneaker drops. Studio nights with Slick and Skater. Don's status weed bags on every corner. He'd really lived. He pulled those moments out one by one like cassette tapes in his mind and hit play on repeat just to stay sane. The letters. Tae didn't expect the letters, not like this. Marissa, 3 pages of poured out pain, talking about how she missed the poly love, the highs, the grind. She said she forgave him. even if he forgot her. Tae sighed reading it. She loved the chaos more than she loved me, he thought, folding it neatly and placing it under his mattress. Kelsey, a Polaroid enclosed. She'd gained weight, living somewhere in Michigan. You were the most real nigga I ever had, she wrote. I never recovered. Tae chuckled. She eating good, probably healing bad. He didn't reply. Selena, hers were consistent, short and sweet. A photo of her and his son at the zoo. A note that read, "We still here, just waiting on you, proud of you, love you." That one made him tear up, just a little. Coalinga Main Line. The bus creaked into the yard like a steel beast ready to drop off souls. It was a level 1 facility, open dorms, less tension, but still the yard. Coalinga looked like a high school campus if the students wore blues and walked with trauma. The dorm smelled like soap, weed smoke, and broken promises. Tae stepped in, duffel over shoulder, still rocking the faded Forever Young hoodie under his issued top. His cellie was a quiet Asian cat named J-Lock, Fresno native, in for wire fraud. Cool dude, kept to himself. Tae respected that. By the second week, Tae had a small following. OGs, youngsters. They heard the music, heard the stories. That's Tae the Don blood, the one from the Vegas clip. I thought that was fake. Nah, nigga, that was him. Slap dude toothless. For real. But Tae stayed humble. Smoked a little weed when it floated by. Worked out. Ate hella canteen. Wrote every night, visiting day. When his son walked through the glass doors, Tae stood still like his soul had paused. Little Tae ran up to him, hugging tight around the waist. Selena followed behind, holding a bag of snacks and smiling with eyes still sad. They sat at the plastic table for hours, talking about school, about a new chain Tae wanted to design for his son, about staying strong. Selena leaned in before they left. You did what you had to do. I'm proud of you. But I need you home. Tae nodded, jaw clenched. I'm coming. Just a matter of time. Flashback on the ride to Coalinga. Tae closed his eyes and replayed a memory. Him, Slick, Tuan, and Skater at the Mayweather fight. Bottles flowing. Women in bikinis swimming through the Airbnb like sirens in a storm. Tae took a bump right off a bathroom counter, looked into the mirror and said, "What the fuck am I doing?" He remembered Kim, thick from Houston, riding him with that slow Texas drawl, whispering, "Daddy, you really him." And he remembered the fear in her eyes when them shots rang off in Vegas. Tae exhaled and whispered to himself, I can't go back to that. I just can't. Closing monologue, steel to silence, bars to bars. But this time I'm not just surviving, I'm evolving. This is a pit stop, not a death sentence. My son's waiting. My story ain't done, just turning the page. Chapter 26, Pressure Builds Diamonds. The thing about being locked up with a clear head is you start seeing everything for what it really is. No noise, no liquor, no threesomes to blur the truth. Just silence, steel, and space to think. Tae sat on his bunk, staring at a blank composition book. The TV blared in the background, some infomercial selling workout bands nobody in here needed. He'd been at Coalinga for 2 months now. The hype of his arrival had settled. He wasn't Tae the Don every hour of the day anymore. He was just Tae, CJ 4070U 290, with a fan base on the yard and a lot of time to reflect. He looked around the dorm. J-Lock was chopping ramen with a spork and talking about crypto. The homie Lil Reed was brushing waves like he had a release date tomorrow. Everyone had a way of pretending they weren't doing time. Tae's way was the notebook. Dear son, he wrote, your daddy made a lot of noise in the world, but the only thing that matters is you hearing me clearly. I'm working on being a better man, not just a bigger name. He paused. Looked down at his hand. No cuffs, no pills, just a pen and a purpose. Flashback, 1 month before the arrest. Back at the house in Sac, Tae stood in front of the mirror holding up a Forever Young varsity jacket. The embroidery was clean, red stitching on black suede. Slick and Skater were in the garage boxing up orders. "That's the one," Tae said, smiling. Selena peeked in, her hands full of laundry. "It's giving mogul." He turned. "It's giving legacy." That's when the call came in. Vegas. That's when the spiral started. Back in Coalinga, present day, Tae met with his counselor, Miss Daniels. She was a quiet woman in her 40s, glasses always sliding down her nose. "I've been reviewing your file," she said, flipping a page. "You've done a lot out there, Mr. Johnson." "I've also done a lot in here," he replied, trying to turn the corner. Miss Daniels raised an eyebrow. "You applied for the entrepreneurship program?" "Yeah. Got some things I'm building. A brand, a plan. I'm not trying to come back." She leaned back. "You should teach a class. These young dudes listen to you." That planted something in Tae, a role, a voice with weight. Letters continued. One night after lights out, he opened a fresh batch of mail. Selena's letter was short. "Your son made honor roll. Said he wants to be a rapper like you. I told him you'd be home soon to show him how to be a better man than that." He wiped his face, then folded the letter like it was sacred. Marissa's envelope was thicker. 4 pages, apologies, memories, regrets. She enclosed a photo from the old days, them in the studio, Tae kissing her neck, a blunt in her hand. He sighed and shoved it back in the envelope. Kelsey sent a postcard, a beach, no words, just her name in pen and a lipstick print. "She's still playing games," he muttered. Visiting day, again. Little Tae walked in holding a sketch pad. "I drew our chain, Daddy." He flipped it around, a rough but recognizable drawing of the iced-out Don piece. "Damn," Tae said, holding it like it was a Grammy. "That's fire, son. You gonna design my next logo." Selena leaned in. "He don't stop talking about music." Tae smiled. "It's in his blood." Before they left, Tae kissed his son's forehead. "Keep your head up. I'll be home to tuck you in soon. New connections inside." A few days later in the library, Tae met a short, stocky cat named Marlin. Older dude, goatee, glasses, and 2 degrees. "You rap?" Marlin asked. Tae nodded. "You got words. You ever thought about writing a memoir? Or a course?" Tae blinked. "A course? Yeah, for reals. Something to teach these young bulls what survival actually looked like." That night, Tae wrote 10 pages straight. Not music, but a curriculum. Survival ain't pretty. Life lessons from the yard to the booth. Phone call was Slick. Slick's voice boomed through the earpiece. "Bro, we out here going crazy with this merch. Don Status just cleared 20 grand in a month. All off pre-orders." Tae grinned. "Tell Q and Skater I'm proud of them. You good in there?" "I'm solid. Just stacking my ammo. You got fans waiting, and the game's still dry without your voice." Tae looked around the dorm. "Tell him I'm cooking something different this time." Closing monologue. "They tried to cage me, but they just gave me time to sharpen the blade. I lost my freedom for a second, but I didn't lose my mission. Every letter, every visit, every beat I hum while pacing these concrete floors, it's fuel. When I come home, it's not just a return, it's a reckoning. Growth ain't clean, it's jagged, it's earned, and I earned every inch of who I'm becoming." Chapter 27, Pressure Builds Diamonds. The thing about being locked up with a clear head is you start seeing everything for what it really is. No noise, no liquor, no threesomes to blur the truth. Just silence, steel, and space to think. Tae sat on his bunk, staring at a blank composition book. The TV blared in the background, some infomercial selling workout bands nobody in here needed. He'd been at Coalinga for 2 months now. The hype of his arrival had settled. He wasn't Tae the Don every hour of the day anymore. He was just Tae, Seche 4070 290, with a fan base on the yard and a lot of time to reflect. He looked around the dorm. J-Lock was chopping ramen with a spork and talking about crypto. The homie Lil Reed was brushing waves like he had a release date tomorrow. Everyone had a way of pretending they weren't doing time. Tae's way was the notebook. "Dear son," he wrote, "your daddy made a lot of noise in the world, but the only thing that matters is you hearing me clearly. I'm working on being a better man, not just a bigger name." He paused, looked down at his hand. No cuffs, no pills, just a pen and a purpose. Flashback, 1 month before the arrest. Back at the house in Sac, Tae stood in front of the mirror holding up a Forever Young varsity jacket. The embroidery was clean, red stitching on black suede. Slick and Skater were in the garage boxing up orders. "That's the one," Tae said, smiling. Selena peeked in, her hands full of laundry. "It's giving mogul." He turned. "It's giving legacy." That's when the call came in. Vegas. That's when the spiral started. Back in Coalinga, present day, Tae met with his counselor, Miss Daniels. She was a quiet woman in her 40s, glasses always sliding down her nose. "I've been reviewing your file," she said, flipping a page. "You've done a lot out there, Mr. Johnson." "I've also done a lot in here," he replied, trying to turn the corner. Miss Daniels raised an eyebrow. "You applied for the entrepreneurship program?" "Yeah. Got some things I'm building. A brand, a plan. I'm not trying to come back." She leaned back. "You should teach a class. These young dudes listen to you." That planted something in Tae, a role, a voice with weight. Letters continued. One night after lights out, he opened a fresh batch of mail. Selena's letter was short. "Your son made honor roll. Said he wants to be a rapper like you. I told him you'd be home soon to show him how to be a better man than that." He wiped his face, then folded the letter like it was sacred. Marissa's envelope was thicker. 4 pages, apologies, memories, regrets. She enclosed a photo from the old days, them in the studio, Tae kissing her neck, a blunt in her hand. He sighed and shoved it back in the envelope. Kelsey sent a postcard, a beach, no words, just her name in pen and a lipstick print. "She's still playing games," he muttered. Visiting day, again. Little Tae walked in holding a sketch pad. "I drew our chain, Daddy." He flipped it around, a rough but recognizable drawing of the iced-out Don piece. "Damn," Tae said, holding it like it was a Grammy. "That's fire, son. You gonna design my next logo." Selena leaned in. "He don't stop talking about music." Tae smiled. "It's in his blood." Before they left, Tae kissed his son's forehead. "Keep your head up. I'll be home to tuck you in soon. New connections inside." A few days later in the library, Tae met a short, stocky cat named Marlin. Older dude, goatee, glasses, and 2 degrees. "You rap?" Marlin asked. Tae nodded. "You got words. You ever thought about writing a memoir? Or a course?" Tae blinked. "A course? Yeah, for reals. Something to teach these young bulls what survival actually looked like." That night, Tae wrote 10 pages straight. Not music, but a curriculum. Survival ain't pretty. Life lessons from the yard to the booth. Phone call was Slick. Slick's voice boomed through the earpiece. "Bro, we out here going crazy with this merch. Don Status just cleared 20 grand in a month. All off pre-orders." Tae grinned. "Tell Q and Skater I'm proud of them. You good in there?" "I'm solid. Just stacking my ammo. You got fans waiting. And the game's still dry without your voice." Tae looked around the dorm. "Tell him I'm cooking something different this time." Closing monologue. "They tried to cage me, but they just gave me time to sharpen the blade. I lost my freedom for a second, but I didn't lose my mission. Every letter, every visit, every beat I hum while pacing these concrete floors, it's fuel. When I come home, it's not just a return, it's a reckoning. Growth ain't clean, it's jagged, it's earned." and I earned every inch of who I'm becoming. Chapter 28, Behind the Glass. The yard was quiet for a Wednesday. Wind cutting past the fences at Coalinga like it had something to prove. Tae had just finished a slow lap around the track when a CO flagged him down. Visitor. Let's go. Tae wasn't expecting nobody. Selena had visited last week. Marissa sent a letter saying she was in Texas finding herself again. Tae wasn't mad. He was used to ghosts. He cleaned up fast, brushed his waves, threw on the fresh gray beanie Selena sent him, walked into the visiting room, already bracing himself. But he wasn't ready for him. Steve, button up too tight, designer glasses too loud, that same smug-ass smirk on his face. Tae didn't even sit down at first. You serious right now? Steve motioned to the seat across from him. Man, sit down, let's talk. Tae sat slow, leaning back. Steve cleared his throat. So I've been speaking to a few people. You know, the saucy blood visuals we did, the Keek features, that EP, there's money moving. Tae blinked. Okay, and? Steve leaned forward, smug rising. I think I'm owed a cut. You know, management fees, production, image consulting, all that. Tae laughed, loud, like someone told him a joke. Steve, if anybody owes somebody, it's you owing me. You disappeared. You blocked me. You left me hanging and had me pay out of pocket for everything. And now you want to pop up? Steve straightened up. I built the brand. Tae the Don didn't exist until I touched it. Tae leaned in, voice low but fire in his chest. I am the brand. You touched the logo maybe, but the Don, I've been that. Just then, a CO approached the table. Let's wrap it up. Steve stood up fast. I'll see you when you get out. Watch. Tae stood too. Stepped close enough for the CO to shift his stance. You will see me. From the sideline. I'm the Don, you bitch-ass nigga. The CO grabbed Tae by the shoulder. Steve flinched, and just like that, it was over. Back in the pod, Tae lit his last bit of burnt paper he rolled up with black tea and toothpaste, prison substitute for a blunt. Slick had written earlier that week, got something lined up, real industry shit. I'ma have them waiting on you when you touch. It's motion, fam. Tae stared at the letter for a long time. Yeah, motion. Chapter 29, Motions in the Wind. 3 weeks later, Tae sat on the back bench of the bus, shackled at the ankles. The prison bus was metal inside. No AC. Every bump made the seat rail vibrate up your spine. He passed Vacaville, then Tracy, then Mule Creek. The trip to Sacramento felt longer than the sentence. In his lap was a manila envelope, parole documents, clothes voucher, and a one-way Greyhound pass. But that wasn't the most important thing in there. It was a flyer. Glossy, fresh, Don status tour. Tae the Don or Slick or Skater. Sacramento, Oakland, San Jose, LA, Vegas, Phoenix. The shit looked official. At the Greyhound depot, Slick pulled up in the matte black SUV. Grinning, diamond grill shining. Hop in Don in the back seat, Selena in a cream jumpsuit, Marissa in shades on FaceTime. Tae's son riding shotgun, dreads braided tight, grinning with 2 missing teeth. Tae got in, quiet at first. Slick handed him a pre-roll. You said you wanted motion, Slick said. We turned it into legacy. They drove through downtown Sacramento. There were billboards of their faces, radio ads running, Tae's music playing in the background of Instagram stories from random people. It was real. He kissed his son on the forehead. Dapped Slick. Nodded at Marissa, held Selena's hand. For the first time in a long time, Tae didn't feel like he was chasing something. He was something. The tour started that weekend, but tonight, they were just home. Chapter 30, The Banger, the Beef, and the New Flame. The black SUVs pulled up like a presidential motorcade. Glossy paint, dark tint, chrome lips spinning slow. Tae stepped out first, chains dancing across his chest, fresh black Balenciagas, fitted denim, a crisp white tee under a bomber with Forever Young stitched in blood red. His new iced-out pennant glinted under the hot L.A. sun, the Don. The mansion was nestled deep in the hills, hidden from the city but loud with energy. You could hear the bass bumping from halfway down the block. Goons posted at the gate, baddies in bikinis and lace thongs fluttering around like butterflies with no wings. Jungle juice brewing in 3 coolers. 2 girls were already twerking on the marble steps before the first camera even rolled. Slick tossed a bottle of Belaire to the videographer and clinked another against Skater's glass. "We shooting a movie today, my nigga," he said, throwing his arm around Tae. "That Don Status 3 shit, they gon' feel us after this." The track started playing, booming off the speakers, lining the pool deck. Real pressure, real problems. I don't fold, I invest. Chain cold, neck froze, still got trauma on my chest. Tae stood front and center in the frame, smoke curling from the blunt in his hand, eyes shaded by Cartier buffs. He walked through the mansion, flanked by goons, models, and mirrors, reflecting his rise. He was floating now, not high off powder, not today, high off power, off finally knowing who the fuck he was. Later, at the after party in the same mansion, candles lit up the walls in the lounge room where DJ Big Rob set up the booth. The scene was straight out of a music video. Bottles popped, the beat never stopped, and every corner of the place had a different vibe. Some women were dancing, others were laid up with bottles of 1942 in their lap. That's when Steve showed up, old school sweater, 2 of his boys behind him, talking loud from the entrance like they were about to collect something. "I'm just saying, I should be on the credits," Steve yelled. "Ain't no Don Status without Steve. You forgot who got you them first features." Tae didn't move. He leaned back on the white leather sectional, watching them from behind his tinted frames, a quiet smirk on his face. "Bruh." Slick stepped forward, holding his champagne bottle like a mic. "Why the fuck you even here? You been cut out." Steve kept mouthing off, but security already started walking over. Before they could even press, Steve saw Tae rise up, slow, calm, dangerous. "You still owe me, nigga," Steve said again, quieter now. Tae just chuckled. "If anything, you owe me for not beating your ass when you blocked me and ran off with my studio deposit. Now get the fuck out my party." Steve puffed his chest, but he wasn't stupid. He backed out with his boys muttering behind him. The music came back louder. The moment wasn't even ruined. Selena walked over, wine glass in hand, her body hugging a 2-piece set of sheer gold fabric and sun-kissed melanin. She leaned into Tae's ear. "I got something for you," she whispered, voice low and dangerous. "What now?" he asked, eyes scanning the room. She gestured behind her, and that's when Tae saw her, Layla. Tall, light caramel skin, full lips with a soft gloss, hair like a lioness, curly and thick past her shoulders. She had on a red cutout bodysuit, hips wide, thighs thick, chest heavy and firm. Tae raised an eyebrow. "New recruit?" he asked. "Maybe," Selena purred, "if you can handle it." Later that night, upstairs in the master suite, Layla sat on the edge of the bed, heels off, curves highlighted in the moonlight spilling in through the tall windows. Selena lit a blunt and passed it to Tae, who was shirtless now, chain still on and sweat glistening on his skin. Tae sat between them, silent for a moment, soaking in the view, the weight of the night, the tension from Steve, the attention, the fame, the women, the empire he was building. "Y'all ever think about how far this shit came?" he muttered. Layla looked at him with a sly smile. "You really the Don, huh?" He nodded, laughing. "Yeah, and the crown heavy, but it fit just right." Selena crawled across the bed, planting a kiss on his neck, while Layla leaned in from the other side. The camera wasn't rolling anymore, but Tae still felt like he was in a movie. No dialogue was needed after that. the room filled with moans, shadows, heat, and the sounds of celebration. It was a different kind of intimacy now, one that matched Tae's rise, raw, grown, and deliberate. After, Tae stood shirtless at the window, watching the city blink below. The chain around his neck shimmered, the dawn. Chapter 31, the final move. The late summer sun set low behind the Sacramento skyline, casting long shadows across the driveway of Tae's house. It wasn't just a house. Not anymore. Brick walls, custom stone steps, blacked-out security glass, a 3-car garage. A big-ass mural of the Don painted on the garage door, just bold enough to remind people who lived here. Inside, Tae sat at the Marble Island counter, sipping fresh pineapple juice out of a mason jar. No Hennessy, no pills tonight. Just him, his son laughing in the living room, and peace. He had earned it. The last year was a storm, and somehow he made it through. 2 court cases, 3 tours, 4 new artists signed to his label. Slick handled the business now. Skater focused on fashion. Tuan ran the weed farms. The empire was real now, legal, profitable. His son's report card sat on the fridge next to a photo of them both at the Golden Gate Bridge. Tae traced his fingers across the paper. Straight A's, he said under his breath. Lil Tae gonna be better than all of us. Daddy, where's Selena? He looked down. His boy stood in Power Ranger pajamas, holding a plate of chicken nuggets. Tae smiled. She went to grab some dessert. She'll be back soon, and she would. Selena, ride or die, complicated, crazy, and loyal. She'd stuck through the rehab visits, the county jail drama, the music grind. They weren't perfect, but they had found a rhythm, something honest. Her new friend Mia, a caramel brown, soft-spoken accountant with a body like she modeled in secret, was cool too. Tae kept it respectful. Well, mostly. He walked to the backyard, lit a blunt, and leaned against the railing. From here he could see everything. His kid inside watching cartoons, the Range Rover in the driveway, the stars flickering out like stage lights. His phone buzzed. New message, Slick. Confirmed they booked the whole 10-city run. LA, Atlanta, Houston, Denver, it's up. You ready? Tae took a long pull, exhaled slow. Replying, always. Flash forward, Los Angeles, the last show, Staples Center, packed. Tae stepped onto the stage dressed in black leather with the Forever Young logo stitched across his chest. Chains heavy. Crowd louder than he ever imagined. Behind him, Slick with the bottles, Mia and Selena with matching fur coats, and his son, holding a mic with Lil Don printed in gold. The beat dropped, and Tae rapped like a man who had nothing left to prove. Bars about pain, about prison, about the women who held him down and the ones who let go. About his son, about the hunger, about love, and about that little voice that still whispered, keep going. As the final beat hit, Tae raised his mic to the sky. This one's for everybody who thought it was over for me, he said. I made it, through the dirt, through the charges, through the hate, through myself. The crowd roared. Flashlights lit up the arena. Snap. One photo captured it all. Tae, the Don, the survivor, the father, the artist. And this time, he was free.